This is a Monday. I'm sure a lot of you have done your drive time nonsense that you have to do coming back from the grind. In any Mondays, I tend to try and not work because that's when I can chillax. Ndanganchitera zuva ndandiri ku front garden, and then I came to the back garden because the sun is out, but sometimes it comes, sometimes it goes. Now, I do apologize in advance because my Wi-Fi is already telling me that the network is weak. So usually when the network is weak, the picture is quite fuzzy. So today I just thought I would come and join you this lazy afternoon and talk to you about a subject which has been fascinating me over the last few days. I thought I would title it Rejection, kurambwa. And really the genesis of this was a conversation I was having with my friend who is in Australia. And this is Mr. Mupfurutsa, and he was saying, Tete Rasta, we are following you on Facebook and we are watching what you are doing. It's fascinating. Rambai muchi, shinga muchita, zamunoita. And so in the course of the discussion, we talked about so many things, but he was showing off his sweetheart. He's got himself a Zimbabwean sweetheart, and he was pointing me to the pictures on his Facebook where they are doing my lovey-doveys. Now, in contrast to the subject, this fellow is happily in love. But he made an observation here, Kuti, a lot of his friends that he's observing, they are in relationships with blondes. This is Zimbabwean fellows who are dating white women in Australia, which is absolutely fine. I guess people can date whomsoever they want to do. It's a free world. And then it just got me thinking a bit broader about love and relationships and what the hell is going on. So I'm going to be a little bit mischievous because I'm going to jump pack everything in there. I want to talk about rejection, what is it? And then recently we've watched the spectacle of democracy where people voted out of Europe. That's an example of rejection on a national scale when you're looking about politics and what that means to me as a woman, as a Zimbabwean, as a mother, and as a healthcare professional who was living in Europe. I shall no longer be living in Europe. I shall just be living in Great Britain. That's going to take some getting used to. Anzi na Charles Chinyere. Laugh out loud, Anzi, and Anzi, bata tamba muskwenda kabata. So let's just get into this. So rejection is to refuse to accept something. It's to refuse to submit, and it's about turning down. So you don't want something and you make it abundantly clear. Today I'm hiding behind the glasses because this is a hard subject. I shall come to a few personal things I want to be hiding so that I can say Jandruda freely. So you decline, you dismiss, you spurn, you knock down, non-acceptance, and the rebuff or refuse. You kick in the teeth, that one is slang. Or and the heave-ho in the old English. He got the heave-ho. David Cameron got the heave-ho. Or you brush off, which is another slang word. Repulse or to snub, repudiate or renunciation. All of those are words that describe what? Rejection. And whilst I'm making light of it, hapana munhu asatamboitwa rejection. You may have applied for a certain job and then you got a rejection letter. You may have been in a relationship and told kuti your services are no longer required ceremoniously or unceremoniously. But the fascinating thing is this. In recent developments, we went through in the UK a process of the referendum where everybody was supposed to be voting. And what it brought to my attention is the hypocrisy of the West. Yes, I said it, the hypocrisy. So democracy is only democracy when people get the outcome that they want. The West is now surprised and lamenting on television day in, day out, we are now out of Europe, breeds regret, what. When these things are happening in Africa and people don't want to go, they don't understand how painful it is. They can't even begin to fathom the magnitude of anger of those that are asked to go by the people, but they refuse. And they take drastic measures. So it's been an absolutely entertaining few days. Entertaining but also quite exhausting because all this emotional flooding, reading the papers, seeing how biased the media is, has been quite a spectacle. So democracy, when it is as the dictionary meaning, it's a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state making decisions about its effects. So we speak. So we spoke. We said, I'm one of those who voted out of Europe, by the way. And I'm happy. I'm sad that they haven't staged a party about this. And I think I did one of my earlier videos and explained to you why I voted out. And I have no regret whatsoever. If they do a repeat, I shall vote out again. So that was a process where we had free expression of the will of the people, closely linked to the rule of law and the exercise of human rights and fundamental freedoms. And it's supposed to reflect what the people want. So toda kuona over the next 2 years kuti vachainvoka here vaiti article 50 chakuti yekuti we are moving out. So let's come back now to the personal issues. Wakamboramba munhu here akaramba kurambwa. And how the hell did you deal with it? Iwe wakamborambwa here ukaramba kurambwa. And how was it? It's one of those really awkward things. But if you are facing that kind of situation, what you want to do is get to a point of acceptance. You have to accept good game over and chadiwa panapa, pack your thing. The most dignified thing to do is to leave the players to play. In Inwanda reject were very spectacularly, publicly, and it was very, very traumatic. But when you get to that point of acceptance, you kind of gather your dignity, stand up and straighten up your spine, and then you move on. So you got situations where even work colleagues may reject you because you're different, or maybe you think outside the box, or maybe you're more brilliant and you outperform them. Rejection does not mean that you should leave your station and go elsewhere. Stand your ground until those people move. Just because you shine brightly does not mean you have to cover yourself and not be the best that you can be. You must shine and outshine people. They need to deal with their inferiority complex. You get on with your blessings, be a blesser, and wait for that promotion because it's coming. Have you ever had friends reject you? I went through a really difficult phase in my life one time. I guess maybe I was quite a difficult person at the time because I'd lost my parents and, the whole world was bleak and people who knew me didn't know how to console me and so on. But what I found was the people who I called my friends really fell apart. They left. It's only the strong ones who hung about and kind of picked up the pieces and held me and consoled me and reassured me that everything was going to be all right. You can imagine, that's what I was. And they wiped me up clean, and then I came out on the other side, and here now I am to lecture you about these things. Rejection is not an easy thing. I don't want to kind of minimize this. And now really wise words, Tete Rasta. And then you look at associates. When people associate, people who are associates. So an associate is somebody who's quite casually linked to you. If an associate rejects you, don't emotionally invest in it, because associates come and go and the connection is quite loose. So don't be perturbed by that. It is why they're called associates and not friends. Then you look at work colleagues. That's neither here nor there. In Ine, I am affected if someone whom I respect and cherish and care about rejects me because I need diri, something that I want. If somebody else not diri rejects me, I'm so good at hellos. I'm even better at goodbyes. So we look at some of the safeguards that are there to protect you when you're dealing with rejection and when you're dealing with situations that challenge you. Because unofanira kurambwa in certain situations. There are certain situations that are dead situations that you have to just cut your losses and move on. But one of the heavies, which is now coming back to Mr. Mapfumo's issues, is that there are lots of Zimbas who are dating white women. Now, I'm not sure what the magic is for the guys, but I know that for a lot of white women, they're fascinated by the African pipe. Paneva hanasaka ndikutaura zviri encoded murikureva muruziya zvandikutaura. So that's what they are fascinated with. And a lot of them think just because I show up, game over, ndatowana zvese. But these girls will get used to it and then they are quite, they sample kwakati one day and then you become obsolete. So, tamba wakangwarira ndandichitomuseka zvangu uyu ndichiti koinda mabrothers ako asiri kucontacta Tete Rasta ndivatsvagire zvana chimbwido zvepa growth point so that they will have somebody who's loyal, who can cook for them and do, the things that tinorayirwa to do. And he thought it was absolutely hilarious. But I actually meant it on one point because a lot of the guys who are marrying outside of our cultural realm, not all of them, some of our non-Zimbabwean varoras are outstanding. They end up the ones cooking, washing, laundry, ironing. It gets to me. So I think there's a little bit of work that needs to be done there. And Aida, Mavina, Very wise indeed. Then we go on to the issue of how are we supposed to respond to those who have chosen to date somebody outside of our norms. And in this one, I want to really specify that let's not just look at the color of people. We've got Ndebele people, we've got Makaranga, we've got Makorekore, Isusu. There's some kind of divide, and sometimes people reject people just because they don't know enough about that person. In India, I've got one of my nieces is mixed race. Mixed yake itori very fascinating. She's got a third of this and a third of this and a third of this. You love her. And there is nothing wrong with that. So let's be people who kind of, support others who have chosen to venture out of our community for love, because vakuchagawo something. And then kune in-laws acho anenge auya, let's teach them, nurture them, or if they really fail and they treat our people badly, then we give them the heave ho, reject and dismiss. So in terms of legalities, there is there's the Human Rights Act. There's also the Equal Opportunities Act. I don't know if Zimbabwe ma laws, but when we did the constitution, there are certain statutes in there that protect the rights of people. But some of it becomes like lip service, because I know for sure that people who are of developed persuasion still don't get a fair run in our Zimbabwe. It's not as fair as it can be. So we've got to do some work over there. And then we want to reject my lies at no woods governments. Look at David Cameron. I was celebrating with him Chinda politics. He is such a selfish career politician. I'm glad that he's exited, but he is the one who's been the most irresponsible British premier that I've ever seen. How can you embark on a process of a referendum and be so arrogant not to have a plan B to recognize that people may not want what you are bringing in? And then his exit unceremoniously just dumps everybody in the heat. But the good news is this: I want all the British people to be strong, to stand firm, hold your head up high. You are no longer part of that big union where you are contributing billions of pounds and not getting as much back. Whenever there is change, it's difficult to manage. Yes, the pound is going to fall, but it is for a season, and daybreak will come and things will stabilize. I've been in the health service here. When we are managing change, we expect a shake-up, and some people will be really antagonizing, trying to make you fall apart, trying to make your strategies fall apart. Eventually, they will leave, especially if you stand your ground. So Ipapo refused to be refused because the renegades will realize that we mean business, and Britain is for Britain. Britain is for the British and the English and those who have naturalized, and we are going nowhere. Then I wanted to touch on Zimbabwe. There are some politicians in Zimbabwe that kurambwa, through the votes, through their own internal political structures. They are being told you must move out, and then they are refusing to move out. So how are we supposed to deal with people who do this? Why should we be saying we are in a democratic country or sign up to the United Nations and then people renege on these sort of things? You can see a good example of Zuma in South Africa. Beloved Zuma. I shall have a party about Zuma. I don't like him also, but I like the ANC. Don't get me wrong. I like the party. I love the country, but Zuma, no thank you. Anzina Brenda. Anzi Kagauva Chako Tete Rasta Ka. Okay, let me not say too much because I'm talking too much. Let me just gaga and finish. Brenda Chabata na manje inbox kana tuparonari because I got issues to discuss. Ekugadzirisa zvimwe zvinhu zvedu zvezvi pachibanditi chaipo. So okay, so the refusal vote was final. We are not going back to Europe, okay? We are now in Great Britain. If Scotland wants to leave, they can go after their referendum. If Northern Ireland wants to go, they have to follow their due process. I don't think the Welsh want to go anywhere. They're the most placid people. I was hanging out with them the other week. I absolutely adore them. Oh, Anzika Guava. I know. I don't know really. Asingade kuvemu Europe is Asingade kuvemu Europe. We got our result. We are on the continent, but we are freestanding. And I know that Elizabeth, the Queen of England, is delighted that we are not exiting Europe, because she was going to lose some of her monarchy powers, because there are other monarchs in Europe who also were going to be neutralized in that process. So anyway, tataura EU, tataura UK, tataura Zimbabwe. I think there's an issue about the RGM, whether or not he wants to go, Morgan Changirai, whether he wants to go. Joshua Nkomo, bless his soul, and may he rest in peace. There were some issues as well around power and leadership and what the people's will was. So you can look and see through the parameters of politics, personal experiences, and even in the workplace, that rejection or kurambwa is a biggie. So let's accept it and then manage the risks. I'm very good at hello and I'm very good at goodbyes, but when I'm certain that I want something, I do not budge. Pane vamwe mai vakaita mistake yekutry kundi-victimizer one time when I was in this job that I was absolutely fed up of, but because she challenged me, I stood my ground. I didn't move until she was the one who had moved, and I used all the internal policies about whistleblowing and so on to show that she was the weak link, and I triumphed. So some of the things that you can use, I'm just going to summarize now. And you must use certain behavior types. So if you want to win unequivocally, you must be assertive. So I'm just going to go through this. Assertiveness only works to the point that it's a win-win situation. Sometimes you will write it off because you cannot make progress, but that's okay as long as you've demonstrated that you had the will for it to work. So assertiveness is the expression of your own rights, feelings, needs, opinions, while maintaining respect for other people's rights, feelings, needs, and opinions. You are able to express your feelings in a direct, honest, and appropriate way. It's like me. I'll be like, hello, can I have your time? I'm live on on Facebook. Kanandine Diri, some of you will come and hang out with me. Kanandisna Diri, I see some of you coming and some of you going. And that's good because you're expressing your rights. You recognize that you have needs that should be met. Otherwise, you may feel undervalued or rejected, angry or sad. If you're in a situation that perpetually makes you have those negative feelings, it's time to pack your bags and go. You don't need to be pushed. You don't need to be dismissed. Pack your things and go. Otherwise, it will send you cuckoo. It is possible to stand up for your own rights in a way that does not violate other people's rights. You have something to contribute. So where you are valued, people tend not to experience rejection because you are brought into the inner circle. So assertion is not about winning, but it's about being able to walk away feeling that you put across what you wanted to say. So the problem we have with people who are refusing to go, particularly on the political arena, is that some of them are passive aggressive. So when they are passive behavior is not expressing your rights, feelings, opinions, or needs. You bottle up your own feelings, give in to others, and see yourself as having little to contribute. A lot of the relatives in Zimbabwe behave like this. We will come to the other 36 years, the same old story. They are now coming up to 2018 and receiver from the last elections. There may be immediate positive effects of being passive, like reduction of anxiety and avoidance of guilt. Matisha anopiwa vanhu rice, sadza, cooking oil, sugar, aski Dr. Amai ndo vanonyanyopa vanhu zvinhu izvozvo. However, the long-lasting effects may be negative, for example, continuing loss of self-esteem, stress, and anger, and may cause others to become irritated by you and develop a lack of respect for you. So, passive aggression, in people, you see it in relatives, you see it in your relationships sometimes, you see it in very immature people. Saka iyo ndo yatakaona pana Diva Cameron. Goodbye, and and then the other non-helpful behavior type is the aggressive one. This one you see it a mile off and you want to run and you want to hide. Scottish people are not happy with the EU results. I know, that's just too bad. They went through a democratic process of a referendum, and so they have to put up with it. Is there anything wrong with fighting for your rights? Why have we lost our will to kill? Is it wrong to militate? My personal view is I don't think that it's wrong. When we went to Chimurenga 1, we went to Chimurenga 2, we're basically saying, we've been telling you that we don't like this, and people didn't listen time and again. The only problem that we have now is because of all these treaties across board, you can never have the organization of people in the sense that they used to go, we need a guerrilla warfare and train up and do whatever, because ninge yakunzi pane chimutemo chinoita kuti usungwe chakambenge chakunamwa Tsvangirai with inonzi chi when someone wants to do a coup or overthrow the government, it will come back to me. So anyway, let's do this aggression. But Tapio, I'm with you on that one. If there's anybody who will train me, I'm ready. So aggression is the expression of your own rights, feelings, needs, and opinions with no respect or for the rights or the feelings of other people. You express your feelings in a damaging, angry way. I'm in a hotel, it's my birthright, over 3 million, and there are nurses and teachers who have not been given their salaries. That is pretty aggressive and downright disrespectful. And now we got the labor guy, 5 to 6 rejections, ne shadow cabinet. Rejection is part of life. You certainly are right, my brother. She sure is. Aha, treason. Thank you very much, Tapiwa. Unobatwa ne treason, even though you are justified and you should be. Treason. But it's not a reason not to, especially where injustices are continuing. So then with aggression, the aim of aggression is to win while ignoring the feelings of the people in an election process, where there's been a referendum and people's rights and people's wills are still ignored. Mfesa hachada gerot iwe gresa anchakuda I refuse to be refused. That's really a good delay. Although the short-term effects of aggression is rewarding, for example, risk of tension, sense of power, effects, and resentment from people around you, and may cause problems for you and for those around you. And often, people that are quite aggressive end up being very lonely buggers. So that was that. I hope that was informative and entertaining. And because my themes are and there's parallels anyway that we can draw. So I don't think there's anything else that Ichanda Siam. Thank you so much for joining me. I just wanted to have a news flash. Now I'm going to be broadcasting from my personal page, and then I shall transfer the videos to Tete Rasta page, because I realized that there's less discussion over there. People don't really know me, so I'm going to trial that and then maintain. But a lot of people are still coming to my personal page to view these videos, which is really good. And then the other important thing is I've had some intelligence with Zivo. It's nothing really complicated, but it always sounds nice when you say intelligence, because people think that we're high echelons of knowledge. That 15 billion that is missing, there's been some progress. And there are some things that are coming up around that 15 billion, which I would like to share with you. So I'm going to do a separate video on the 15 billion based on what I found out and what I have not found out and what I would like to find out some more. So that one should be for tomorrow, on the $15 billion that the president of Zimbabwe said is missing. So just a last comment there. Hanzina Aida, live show is being interrupted here. Is it just me, or guys are also experiencing the same? I did say that my Wi-Fi connection is quite poor, Aida. I think that's what it is. I'm terribly sorry. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, I wata taura. Thank you so much for your time. I know. Kuti mno invest a lot of your time kumbotandara neni, and I really appreciate all your efforts. Saka have a wonderful afternoon. Ininda kutombono zorora ndombono chagaje kudya mbao momo, and then tinenge takuona kuti evening yacho in storm. All right then, you take care guys, and mwari akuitire zvakanaka kwese kwamuri. Kune rejection inoda kurejectai, kune rejection inouya isiri justified kurejectwa, kurambwa, refuse to be refused. And then kune imwe rejection inouya unongovhura ziso rachaka uchitarisa nekona yeziso while you decide what you want to do, where you don't burn your bridges. Saka aiwa farai, nyika iyi ndeyedu, Britain yacho ndeyedu, tichavapfurira mastrategies manje kuti nyaya dziye dzamakambotanga nesu dzamusina kupedza ndedzipi, because maihwanda nemunwe muchiti Europe. You remember the clear short letter? Tinayo in mind. And also masanctions aya vakatiisira masanctions, vanga vachirwanda nechimune vachiti Europe iri kukuisai masanctions. Iye ndezvamira vega. Kuchaita moto chibhanditi chaicho. Aiwa, taonana. Salute.